Did you know I've never been an actual plain old Pathfinder like those boys? Hi, I'm Audra with Pathfinder Strong, and today I have to admit I have never been an actual Pathfinder. I want to talk to you today about how I got started in Pathfinders. So, I have Pathfinders in my blood. My parents were Pathfinder directors when I was an itty bitty kid. In fact, I had a little miniature Pathfinder uniform that I would wear, even though I was not technically a Pathfinder because I was way too young. I guess I wasn't an adventurer. I don't know if adventurers just wasn't around where we were or whatever, but I did everything Pathfinders with my parents in my little miniature Pathfinder uniform, but I wasn't actually a Pathfinder. So, actually, we'll even back up before that. In 1985, it was the International Camporee in Dare to Care, I believe. My parents were the club directors and they were gearing their club up to go to the Camporee in 1985. And surprise, I made my appearance on June the 26th of that year, which prohibited them from going to the International Camporee. So, I spent a lot of my childhood at Pathfinder events with my parents, even though I was too young to be a Pathfinder. When I got a little older, we moved to a church that had a church school so I could go get some Adventist education, and Pathfinders wasn't such a big thing there. My parents started working more, stopped being club directors, and it wasn't until I was in my early teenage years that we moved to another church, the one we are currently at right now, that did have an active Pathfinder program. However, I was in my weird, awkward teenage years where I was too cool for everything, and I thought I was way too cool to be in Pathfinders. I was 13 years old, and the club director at the time was Ken and his wife Dina, Ken Stroman. He really wanted to get me in the club. I did not want to be in the club. So Ken went and talked to my parents, like, hey, what do we need to do to get Audra in the Pathfinder Club? My parents said, you know what, Audra loves to be in charge of things. So if you could give her a job or something, that might entice her to be in Pathfinders. So Ken said, I've got it. There's a TLT program. I will make her a junior counselor, and we will tell her that she can be staff and maybe she'll join the club. So the next week at church, Mr. Stroman came up to me and said, hey, Audra, would you like to join the Pathfinder Club as staff? You can be a junior counselor. And my little 14-year-old, 13, however old years I was like, oh, staff, yeah, I'll do that. So I joined Pathfinders for the first time as staff and not an actual Pathfinder. So I've been in Pathfinders ever since that day, thanks to some little creativity on the part of my club director, my very first one, Ken Stroman. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, I found out that Ken Stroman passed away. His wife had already passed away in years previously. And it made me start thinking about that story that I just told you and how I got started in Pathfinders. And grateful for what he did to make Pathfinders enticing and meaningful for me at that age. Who knows, if it hadn't been for him, who knows where we would be today. So basically the moral of the story today is, if you have to come up with some creative ways to get your kids involved in Pathfinders, do it. Now, I am not advocating for making 13 and 14-year-olds staff. That is not what I'm saying. That worked for me. That was quite a few years ago. What I'm advocating for is be creative and think outside the box of ways to get kids involved in Pathfinders. So sometimes this maybe means vamping up your TLT program. You don't have to call them staff, but get them involved in teen leadership training where they're learning to do those roles that will eventually lead them into staff positions. I also want you to just take a minute and think back to your Pathfinder roots. How did you get started? Who was a big influence in your life and you getting started in Pathfinders? I would love for you to share those stories in the comments down below. Share this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.